Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove the screw here on the top of the bumper and this one right here. Using a 10mm socket or wrench, we're going to head and remove this bolt here, this bolt here, there's one right here, and then there's a few that run across the front. This is on the passenger side. You want to go ahead and repeat the same for the driver's side. Remove these two 10mm bolts here. Repeat for the other side. With the vehicle raised off the ground, you can put your ignition key to the on position. This allows you to manually rotate the wheel like this. You want to get into these plastic inserts. You go ahead and put your pry tool in there, pop that out, and repeat for these two. Between the bumper and the fender, there is one of those little plastic screw clips holding the edge of the bumper up into this here. So gently take the bumper, pull it down, separate those two pieces, and once the bumper is loose, go ahead and repeat for the driver's side. Now go ahead and grab the bumper, wiggle that, and go ahead and set that aside. I'm going to remove these two 8mm bolts. Once these are out, go ahead and pull that off and set it aside. Repeat for the driver's side. I'm going to remove these two lower 10mm nuts. There's one here and one over to the right. Using 8mm, and I'll go ahead and remove this nut. I'm going to remove this bolt right here. We want to go ahead and unbolt our hood latch unit here. There's a 10mm bolt here and one on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the harness from the impact sensor here. There's a spring tab on the bottom. I'm going to just push up on that little tab and work that connector off. And go ahead and use a trim tool and pop this little retainer out for this harness. And down below is the harness or the connector for the passenger side fan. I'm going to use a long pick. I'm going to press in on this little spring tab right here and disconnect the connector. Repeat for the other fan. Going to remove the cap on our expansion tank. And set that aside. Now on the bottom, underneath the radiator, there is a single 8mm bolt right here. That is the last bolt that holds the center brace in place. I'll go ahead and remove that. Now up under the driver's side front of the vehicle, we're going to go ahead and drain the radiator. We're going to do so by opening up the petcock drain here. Have a drain bucket underneath to go ahead and catch your coolant. All right, we have most of the coolant drained out. We're going to go ahead and snug up the plug right here. Using a 10mm ratchet, I'm going to go ahead and get this nut removed off the front of the hood release. Once that's loose, we should be able to lift up the hood bracket right here, the latch bracket. That's going to give us access to this bolt right here, this 8mm. I'm going to go ahead and remove that one right there. This is the last bolt that holds the center beam in place. Now before we lift the fans out, we want to go ahead and finish disconnecting the harness clips for the rest of the harness down below. Just pop those out. Take a pair of pliers, open up your hose clamp. Work that down. Work that hose off the radiator. On the driver's side, you want to go ahead and remove the clamp on the upper radiator hose. Break that free, work it down. Work that hose off. Once we have this hose clamp back, this goes to the radiator. This is a transmission cooler line. Going to use our hose pliers and work that hose free. Right here, there's an 8mm bolt. I'm going to remove that. There's one on the passenger side in the same exact position, and this is what holds the fan assembly to the radiator. Let's go ahead and remove both of these bolts. Go ahead and take the fan assembly, push it forward, and pull up. Go ahead and lower the the fans down into place. The cooling fans clip in to a little retainer tab on each side. You can see the new fan assembly in that little tab below. You want to do that on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and install our bolts to hold the fan to the radiator. Repeat for the other side. I'm going to go ahead and snug up this bolt. You don't have to go super tight. It's just holding a plastic cooling fan to the radiator, so you just want to snug it into place. Getting this bolt started right here to support the center beam. Let's get that threaded in as far as you can by hand. That'll hold it there. Now I'm going to press in our harness retainer clip here. I'm going to go ahead and install our connector right here to our fan. Line that up and press it down into place. With the center I-beam bracket bolted or hung by one bolt, it's easy for us to get on in here with one hand and reconnect our sensor right here. And next we're going to go ahead and install our hose right here for the radiator. I'm going to go ahead and move that clamp up into place. Install our lower hose. We can go ahead and install the upper hose. Install our 8mm bolt in the lower center bracket. We'll go ahead and tighten that down. I want to tighten up the upper bolt for that center beam. I'm going to tighten this one up because it goes behind the hood latch unit. Go ahead and take our hood latch unit, slide that bolt unit inside there like so, and drop that down. And we'll go ahead and get our two bolts mounted inside there. And go ahead and install the bolt right here. And we'll repeat for the other side. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these bolts. Now the latch itself is adjustable up and down, has a little bit of movement to it. We just found the dust lines or the dirt lines around where the bracket was lined up with originally, and we just lined it up to that same mark. We'll snug this down and repeat for the other side. Next, you want to take the condenser unit, line it back up in the lower brackets, make sure that's right up against the radiator. Now I want to go ahead and secure these lines here. Go ahead and snug that down. And repeat for the other side. If you remove the spacer bracket here, go ahead and reinstall. Simply just snaps into place like so. Go ahead and swing our bracket over here. Install our pins in place. Before we snug these down, we want to go ahead and get the bracket in on the other side, make sure everything lines up nice over there, and then we'll snug them both down. And go ahead and line up the lower unit here. Slide this onto the studs on both sides. I'm going to get the nut started here. Repeat for the other side. On the side of the body right here, we have this little knob, and on the inside of the bumper, there's actually this little slot right here. We have this on both sides. So when we install the bumper, you want to make sure that that knob fits inside of that, and we'll slide the bumper on both sides. Install your upper bumper and grill bolt here. Get it started a few threads. Repeat for the other side, and then we'll snug them both down. I want to go ahead and install our little plastic push pin that goes from the bumper up into the fender. What we're going to do is grab the fender liner and push this in a little bit. Pop this down. That's going to give us some ability to get inside and reach that push button area. Once you have that push back in, pop your liner back in. I'm going to install our 3 push locks here. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for the other side. I'm going to go ahead and install our inner wheel liner here. Get our bolt started. We're just going to start these by hand. We're going to keep them loose until we get the lower bolts installed, and then we'll come back and tighten everything down. Then once we get this bolt snugged down as far as you can, I'm going to now go ahead and repeat for the other side. Go ahead and install our lower bolts here. Once you get these 3 in, go ahead and repeat for the other side. I'm going to install our lower bolt here. And we just popped in a replacement bolt. I'm going to continue down the whole length and install the rest of these here. Once we get these in, we'll go ahead and snug them all down. Now we're on the inside of the fender well. We're going to come back and tighten up these 10mm bolts. And once these are snug, Once again, repeat for the other side. As we fill this up, we want to go ahead and make sure that we fill it till it comes up to this line here where it says fill cold. Then we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle, let it warm up. Once the engine uses what it needs to, you want to come back and double check this, make sure that that is up to the level. Once you're filled up, we can go ahead and put our cap on and seal it up.